All right, let's see. Gary and Gary's going to take the lead on this one. What do you attribute your ability to retain talent to? So not just attracting people, but because, if you have good folks, people are trying to poach them all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
I think Catherine would also be great at answering this as well. If you have read anything about Catherine, I was telling this to her earlier, I just love when you ask her about her job, she goes, I just love attracting great people to the company I love. And then people ask, why does she work so many hours? And then you overcome the workaholic aspect by just saying it's because I love, like this, it's life fulfilling in what you do. And so I think if you can get into an environment like Catherine has, and I hope the Green Team has, where it's making a difference. But what you have to remember is before they start your position with you. And so it's the experience they have in the interview process and before they're hired and making sure their desk is ready for them. Everyone that starts, I've handwritten them a note that's at their desk. We still meet as a whole company every other Friday. And then when they come, they're not aware of this. Someone else introduces them in a unique way. And then there's literally a green ribbon cutting, and they walk the green carpet, and there's 74 people high-fiving them when they start.
Isn't that cool, y'all?
Create an environment where they feel more than welcome and they feel significant day one in your organization. It starts with that. And then it goes into making sure communication is key. And we've talked about internal newsletters and things like that. It's so important. We're turning that into an intranet site now for employees to keep in touch. But Megan, another one of our all-stars in the office, we just had our newsletter out. Thank goodness, I should have known this. I didn't know she had a new dog. But she, just a couple months ago, Brody, I think, and then her dog's favorite is a hedgehog named Henry or something. Like, but to be able to learn these little tidbits about the people you work with every day. When you start, within 2 weeks, I'm going to meet with everybody one-on-one, and it's for them to more understand the culture and what we are building, but more the values of the organization. I give everybody a book. It's called 100 Questions to Spark Amazing Conversations, to help provide them a tool so they can better get to know people around them. And then you get into recognition. So recognize specific moments. I heard 3 years as an example earlier. 3 years is a big deal for us. We have people, I didn't realize how big of a deal this is, but it says, I'm going to at least be with you for 3 years because I write a book for them. It's a children's book I rewrite for everyone on their 3-year anniversary about their 3 years experience at Green. 5 years is a unique shopping experience. 10 years.
Wait, I'm sorry. Relax. You write a book about your employee.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Julie. I'm going to get to it when I get back to the office.
Yeah, Lindsay, her fairy godmother of Wilmington, she had her book just about a year ago now because she's now approaching 4 years.
That's so cool. Wow.
But finding these unique ways to recognize people. 10 years is a dream come true experience. We just had someone on our accounting team. She and her husband loved NASCAR, had never been, so we sent them to Talladega, and they were down in the pits, and finding a way to find these experiences that you can recognize people around you, and then look at ways to promote from within first. So we have 8 people in our company, including someone on our executive team, our VP of Human Resources, that started as our Director of First Impressions. And Abby's here, who's an all-star Director of First Impressions with us. But people start in that role, and to see how they progress into other positions, I think that's critical as well. And we will not look outside unless we've looked internal first. And people seeing that, I mentioned the recognitions, and then making sure people feel that their voice is heard and they feel significant. There's so many other things that we can talk about, but those are the things that immediately come to mind.
That's great. That's awesome. So let's see. Lisa's going to take this one. How can you create an intentional company culture?
So I'm kind of a skeptic a lot of time about the word culture because people kind of throw it all around and it's in every article on Forbes and et cetera, et cetera. But basically, I get skeptical because people say, I want to create this culture. And it's like, well, you already have a culture. You want to change your culture? Oh, okay. Basically, culture is just what you say and then what you do and how those two either look alike or they don't. So if you're trying to create a positive culture, which most of the people in the room probably are if you're sitting here and you paid for your tickets, you're trying to do better and make it a great place to work. I would say that you need to pick a couple of items from a benchmark list of key elements on how to create a great culture. Those are things like Recognition. These guys have talked about that already. It doesn't matter how small, large, family barbecues at the boss's house. You throw them a $25 gift certificate to Massage Envy. Whatever it looks like, whatever you do for recognition, do it well and get feedback on it. Things like safety. You run a small manufacturing plant or a little chemical plant, or you run a landscaping business. Guess what? Your people should feel comfortable that they're going to go home the same way that they showed up to work for you and not feel bad about reporting that they cut their finger with a saw or whatever. I mean, you got to help them and get it taken care of. These are real issues that people deal with on a day-to-day basis, right? Leadership reputation. So leading by example. Sounds so simple, right? But doesn't always happen. If you expect your people to be in the office at a certain time, you should probably be there in the office when you expect them to be. So just, again, leading by example, having a good leadership reputation in this community, getting involved, allowing them to be involved, not giving them a hard time when they take vacation if that's a benefit that you offer. Lots of different elements, but pick a couple of key focuses. Tell the employees what you're focused on. Tell them where you are today, where you want to be in 3, 6, 9, 12 months. Make an action plan. Get feedback. It doesn't have to be like this formal, big, elaborate employee engagement survey, right? Run through some third party. No way. Send an email and say, email me back with your thoughts. Or if you don't feel comfortable, you can anonymously do it this way. Slip a note under my door. But just kind of always try to, keep a pulse on what your folks are feeling, and that's the most important thing, because you can try and spend all this money, and at the end of the day, the moms with 4 kids don't want to go to Vegas. They would rather get their house deep cleaned. So, I think just culture is, and also, back kind of rewinding a little bit, foundational stuff is so important in the workplace. Standard policies and procedures. Again, I'm like the boring HR person here at the end, but making sure that people actually are treated the same way every day, and that even though you do have a favorite, it's kind of like being a parent, right? You can't show everybody else that they're your favorite. So giving people extra vacation days or saying, don't put it in the system, but you make everybody else put it in the system to take a vacation or a sick day. You just gotta do the same thing with everybody. And if you're not going to because the person is a poor performer, then you gotta address that too. So standard policies, practices, communicating with your employees, getting feedback, that's how you drive culture.
Great. Anyone want to add to that? Yes?
Yes, so I'd say just piggybacking on what you're talking about, a lot of it's about consistency. And so I'll share a quick story that I think is something that everybody in this room could do over a couple of days. So back in 2013, we were experiencing that rapid growth, and Dwayne, our CEO, had enough foresight to say, I want to kind of bottle whatever this is that's fueling this and make sure we don't lose it, and we continue to grow, and we continue the camaraderie and continue the relationships and the values that we have as an organization. As we continue to grow, I want that to be maintained. And so he started developing alongside the COO and some other leaders what we call our culture deck. And so this is a super simple document. It's like 50 pages. It's public facing. You can go on our website don't do it right now, but after the luncheon, you can go back to your office and you can pull it up into pub.com on our About page. And it's just a collection of slides that tells you what would get you hired, what would get you fired, and what would get you promoted into. And so you can take 10 minutes, read this document, and know these are my people, or these are weirdos and I don't want to have anything to do with them. And you can self-select in or out of the organization before you even apply. And it's something that as soon as somebody applies, we send them the culture deck. We ask them to read it before the interview. Then as they're onboarding, we sit down with them for 90 minutes and go through these 50 slides and talk to them about culture, what it is, what it isn't, what the expectations are. And I think we've all been there that first day of a job, and you're nervous and you just want to do what's right and do what they're expecting out of you. This is that. This is your handbook. This is way more important. Dwayne says, which as the HR person, this makes me cringe. He's like, the handbook, it's boring. It's just policies. Like the culture deck, that's what you need to worry about. And so if he had it his way, we'd throw away the handbook. But the culture deck is what everything is all about for us. And so I know several of you have sat down with you in meetings and pulled that out and said, here's where we need to start before we start talking about a vendor relationship or whatever it may be. This is the core of who we are, and if you read this, you'll get it. And then I think people have a safety in just knowing what's expected of them, and it's the consistency piece again.
Creating intentional culture and all these are incredible ideas, incredible things to implement. The leadership team also has to practice what they preach, and this was difficult for me to start doing myself. We're still, we don't have a casual dress environment, so every Friday is jeans day, and then someone told me, Gary, if it's jeans day, then you also have to be wearing jeans on Friday. Or if you have a ping pong table and things like that, you need to stop and play ping pong. Just things that you're doing, you need to make sure you're doing that. So if reading and keeping up to date is important, then the leadership team, so one of your favorite books, Start With Why, we're going through that as a leadership team now. But whatever it is that is important to you and your culture, you need to make sure you're demonstrating that as well as preaching it.
That's an excellent point. So did you go get some Levi's?
I went and got jeans. Yeah. They're not Levi's. They're probably, I don't know what they are actually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll be looking next Friday.
That's right.
We see you Friday. I think that makes so much sense. One of the things for me is we don't have a leadership team. Everybody's on the leadership team when you have 10 people, and the janitor, and answers the phone. Like, you know this, right? If you're in a small business, like you have 12 jobs. But one of the things that we do is we have a book club, and we read through books together. Because I started talking about books so much that everybody said, I want to read these too. So that's been kind of you can opt in if you want to, but it's been a great thing to do. And so if you're a small company, everyone's your leadership team, you know, and I think that you never know how quickly you're going to grow or how people are going to move up. But it also, is, as the owner of the company, allows you to sort of articulate your values, your vision while you're making decisions. And so the books have been a great, way for us to communicate.
I think that also speaks to the idea or concept of investing in your team. Because that's when you boil it all down, people want to know that you have an interest in seeing them grow or seeing whatever is important to them come to fruition. So I appreciate that comment as well.